Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. In the last couple of days I've been doing a lot of work casting cement pieces for my Prohm temple. It'll be a root over temple planting. I'm going to grow a ficus over top of it. Today I'm going to be doing a lot of assembly work, putting all those pieces I made together. Should be exciting, so here I go. I'm pre-soaking a lot of my pieces in water so the cement sticks to them really well when I go to assemble them. I made all the saw cuts on my new pieces, separating them to look like they're made of stone blocks. Alright, I'm going to begin assembly, so I'm bringing the base out of the water. So I wasn't sure which side I wanted up on the base, which side looks more like stone. This side's rougher, but most of the stone in the temple is fairly finished, so I'm thinking this side looks more authentic. So I think that'll be the side. I'm going to put the nice side to the front. I think. What side looks best? Maybe this side looks the best. It's kind of got a lot of cool stuff happening. I'll make this the front. I've got my corner blocks soaking in water here, so they'll go on like this, offsetting them inside just a bit. Sort of like that. I'm just going to make sure they sit down nicely. Alright, I think I'm all set. I've just got to mix up some mortar, and that'll be the hydraulic cement and sand again. I have 2 layers cemented in place now, so I'm just going to place my top piece on just to give it a bit of weight while it's drying. So I still have another layer of these L-shaped sections to go on, and then my top piece. So I'm going to let this set first before I do the upper part, because I don't want this getting too kind of the weight offset. It may, yeah, it may not be as stable. So I better clean up my tools and get ready for layer number 2 and the top piece. Eventually with this temple, all the roots from the ficus will grow over top of the temple, and they'll actually hold all the blocks in place. So even if the cement came loose, the roots would hold it all in place, just like the real temple. I've let my mortar set for a while, so I think I'm ready to put the top layer on. So everything's soaking. I'll get out my 4 corner pieces from the bucket of water. They've also been soaking. There they are. So they all go on top like this. And this one will go on top like that. Yeah, that should work quite well. I don't think there's any, particular order that they have to go in or anything. So I'll just place them on randomly like that. Alright, I'm all set. Here I go. Piece number 1. Just like bricklaying. Make sure my offset is good. The top layer has to go on now. So here I go, spreading out my mortar. I'll put a fairly thick layer because everything's uneven. Which, again, for ruins, that's exactly what you want. You don't want everything perfectly square and level. Had a bit of, weathering and shifting and trees growing over them. Okay, that's looking good. So here goes my top plate now. Looking nice. Pushing it down. Just cleaning up my mortar joint. Oh, that was not good. Okay. That released on the bottom down there. Okay. It's okay. Okay, and here I go. Let's get this fixed here. So there's my layer of mortar on the bottom. And I'll put a layer on the top. Stay. A little more. Can always squish it out. Okay, let's get this corner block in place now. Slide her in here. Okay. Just checking all my offsets. Okay, I think that is going to fix it. And once all this sets and dries, I'm going to flip it over and I'll reinforce it all from the inside. I'll put a, you know, like a coating of cement just to hold everything together nicely. So now I think everything's in place. What I need to do is I need to go around with my knife and just clean up all the joints here. Just so I don't have all this excess cement. Because it's supposed to look like stone blocks stacked up on top of each other. Okay, that's looking better. Let me just wash it down a bit with some water. I'll wash some of the excess cement off. And make a mess in here, but that's okay. I'll clean that up. Yeah, I think it's looking quite good. Here's a look at the temple now, the base. I've got this section all cemented together, so it's looking good. I'm thinking about the overall size of this temple now. You can see in my drawing that I finished this section, and then I have another section to go underneath it, which would be the walkways. And I'm thinking, would that start getting too top heavy? I've got my upper section here, my lower section, and I'm just worried about it, you know, tipping over and breaking apart or something. I need it fairly stable at the base. So I was thinking maybe, you know, instead of having this type of an arrangement, coming in and getting rid of my bottom part, still having, you know, some broken up sections coming off here like this, and making this my base, this part here. So I would have this sort of the entranceway instead of like the upper roof part, and having like a square, 4 square kind of bases here, which would really add stability, and then having the entranceway come through here. So it's kind of shortening the temple, and there's all kinds of variations of these temples. So I'm not following any, you know, it's not an exact replica. It's to give you the impression of the Prohm temple. So I'm thinking practicality. The more I add on here, the heavier it gets, and I want to keep it fairly stable. So I'm thinking of going kind of this height, building out some entranceways on all 4 corners, and, you know, maybe the roof will be halfway here and then straight down at the sides. And I think that'll be good. I think, you know, realistically, I'd like to build the entire temple, but I don't have time, and I have to be practical about the size of this. So I'm thinking that's where I'm going to leave it. So I will add a square base plate underneath here. So I'll extend it out. Ideally, it would be like a plus shape, but I don't think I can do that. Maybe I can. And I want to use... I'm worried that this material won't be strong enough. So I'm going to go out and buy Portland cement. And I'll get sharp sand, mix it together, and I'll cast something similar to this, but not that heavy. A base that everything will sit on. And so it'll be super strong, and I'll reinforce it with the mesh and everything. Maybe even 2 layers of the mesh so it's super strong. And that'll be my base, and it'll go underneath here. So that's my plan. I'm going to head out, buy some Portland cement, which is very expensive, and some sharp sand to mix in with it. And then I'll plan out the base and get that poured today. I went to the hardware store to buy a bag of Portland cement, and the fellow told me they don't have any. It's on back order. They haven't been able to get it in for weeks, which is kind of unusual. So I went to another place, and they had this quick setting cement. It's like a pre-mix sand, Portland cement, and they said there's some other additives that help it. It's looks like good stuff. Good high-strength cement. So I'm going to use that for the base. I also got a box of 20-20-20 fertilizer. I thought, you know, it's in the store there. I better get it while I think about it so I don't run out for next year. I'll get my table cleared off and make room for laying out the base piece that I put under here. So I can move this. And I'll set it up here. Very carefully. A lot of people in the comments mentioned that I should keep it wet, this hydraulic cement wet for 24 hours. So I'll try that. I'll just keep wetting the structure down. Hopefully it'll set even harder. Here is a look at my base plate. It's quite a big piece. Like, wow. So the main square in the middle is just a little bit bigger than the base here. And then I've got my extensions for my crumpled kind of buildings on each side. So I think that's going to work quite well. I'm going to put mesh down. I'm using the new cement. Hopefully it'll be a nice strong piece as the base. I have got the mesh cut out, the reinforcing mesh. So the form is all set. My mesh is cut out. The next step is to mix up my concrete and pour. So I'm going to mix up, now I got a tub down here. I can mix that up, kind of fill it up probably almost to the top. Pour in the concrete, push the mesh in, mix up some more, and then finish it off. Pour in the second half. I'm hoping it all goes well. It's a big piece. Well, I'll pour it in. Here it goes. Yeah, that was like hardly anything I mixed up there. So I definitely got to mix up more. Okay, here goes more of it. I think I've got just about a good first layer in place. So that's good. Okay, I'm going to push the screen in place now. I've marked the front here so I know where it goes. So let me line it up. That is looking awfully good right there. Push it down. Perfect, looking good. Making sure it's kind of level. And now I'll mix more concrete up and pour in the rest to fill the mold. Oh, this is exciting. This is a pretty good consistency here. Boy, this middle part takes up a lot of concrete. There's a lot of surface area. You know what I need? I need a trowel. I think I have one here, a scraper that I can use. Okay, I'm going to let that set a bit, and I come back and kind of clean it up a bit more. I got to get all my tools cleaned up before the cement hardens. My lid back on my bag of cement. And then I'll come back and do a bit more smoothing out. Here is a look at my giant base plate. Quite a piece. I'm sure it'll work out just fine. That cement looks like it's curing really, really nicely. So here's my, this will go on top of that piece. And then on top of that, we'll go this piece. And there's a lot of detailing to come here. There's my walkways, roofs, all kinds of cool features, sprites, all kinds of stuff. So in the end, you know, the lower part of the temple will be as detailed as this upper part with all kinds of intricate artwork in that. So yeah, very exciting. It's coming along nicely. I will need a fair-sized pot to fit this in, but there's some available. I even have one, I think, that will fit this. May not be the perfect pot, but it'll fit it. As far as the weight, I got a lot of comments about this thing's going to be so heavy and that. If you ever look at some of those giant bonsai, they are heavy. This will not be any heavier than some of those large bonsai trees. It's all hollow, so it's not ridiculously heavy. I mean, it'll take probably 2 people to lift the pot, but it's not going to be like extremely heavy that, you know, it's really hard to move. So eventually, there'll either be, I'm going to do the demo in Toronto where I put a Natal ficus over top of here. And I'm choosing a Natal ficus because they grow aerial roots really easily. They have nice miniature leaves on them. You can really miniaturize them. And I think it's probably the best species, one of the best species for bonsai. So I think if I plant like a Ficus benjamina, they don't like the hard pruning. If I plant a Ficus microcarpa, that would be fine, but it doesn't get the really small leaves unless you get like a really dwarf variety, and I don't have a dwarf variety of it. So I think the Bert Davai Natal ficus will be the best tree I can put on this temple, and it'll look fairly exotic. It won't be instantly recognizable as a ficus tree. It'll look like some tropical rainforest tree. It has been about 2 hours since I poured the concrete in the mold here. It's still damp on top, but I think that's just kind of the water rising to the top. It says it firms up in 20 to 30 minutes, so I'm going to try removing the mold now. So here I go. Seems to come off pretty easily. I'm going to save all these pieces because I may be reusing it. Yeah, it seems to come away okay. I had just enough plasticine to make this. I think that's it then. Wow. So that's what the temple will sit on. I'm going to place the temple on top just to see how it fits. Again, because I'm impatient. Just got to try it out. There it is. Well, that's not bad. That's looking good. Now, I think I have to try the top of the temple on it too to see kind of what it looks like, so I can kind of study it and see if it looks good or not. If the height looks good. Yeah, let me do that. All right, here I go. I better move my sprites, the ones that have fallen off. I think everything else is attached. All right, here I go. I'm going to lift it up very carefully, place it on top, and hopefully it all doesn't crumble away. That would be a disaster if it did that. Okay, here I go. Touch that. Holding. That's good. Another day of temple building done. I'm happy with the progress. I think it's coming along nicely. I think it's going to look very stable once I get those crumbled, covered walkways in place around that new base. And then there's a lot of detailed work to go. All my more sprites and a lot of fixing up. It's going to be really fun doing all the detail work. A lot of work to go, but I'm really enjoying the project. That is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.